What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Hills Are Silent podcast, where we like to chop it up about the games of yesterday, today, and tomorrow. I am Two-Tone the Artist.
And I am Mitch the Peach.
And we are your delectable hosts. And we got some good topics for you guys. Per usual, we're going to jump it off with some pickups. Man, what can we say, man? Try not to go crazy with it, but it keeps happening. So, Mitch, I'll let you take it away. I haven't seen what he's picked up yet, so I'm very curious, I'm sure, as well as everybody else. What you got, man?
Yeah, it's at least been a few weeks or a month or so since we posted an episode, so we can at least say that we've spread our pickups out for for some time at least.
Yeah, man,
we haven't been going too crazy. But my first one, I actually got it. I got both of these on Woot. I think I've talked about it before on the podcast. It's a Amazon subsidiary where they're usually like trying to sell off like excess merchandise that they have on stuff.
I wondered if they were affiliated with Amazon. I've only glanced at that site before.
Yep, affiliated with Amazon. You can just use your same Amazon account and buy off of it. So, my favorite website, Slick Deals, always posts stuff on there. So, I picked up a couple things, especially one for $5, which I was like, okay, I might as well just get it at this point.
That's my favorite price point.
It is the newest South Park game. It is South Park Snow Day.
Okay.
And it's this South Park game kind of goes back to the old Nintendo 64 style South Park games where they seem kind of like, I don't know what the art style is. It's, I can't really even explain it, but definitely like 3D graphically. And it's basically it's a co-op, like almost like slasher or co-op, like just like run and gun type game where it's, let me see.
Yeah, it's multiplayer only, right? That's what I thought I heard.
I think you could play single player, but it's like a better experience multiplayer. I think I have another buddy who actually owns this on the Xbox, so I'm gonna try to get him to play it with me. It didn't get great reviews, so I think that's why the price has tanked so far. But I don't know. I think all the South Park games are just the goofy fun time. But yeah, it's hard to top their RPGs that they made, both the Stick of Truth and the Fractured But Whole. Those two are like top tier games. I loved both of those games so much. Not only are they like great homages to like just South Park episodes in general, but they're just great turn-based, RPGs in general. So this goes away from that. I'm gonna guess the way this sold, they're not gonna go back to this. They may go back to the RPG style. That seemed to have worked for them. But I'm gonna give it a try, and then I'll report back. And I mean, for $5, if I can play some with my friends, I feel like I'll get my value out of it.
Yeah, man. I think both of the RPGs, I've got the Stick of Truth on PlayStation 3 and the Fractured Butthole on PS4, and I think I paid like $2 for each of those.
I want to get those physical, so I probably will try and get them for about the same price than somewhere down the line. Because those are great games. It'd be cool to have on physical.
Yeah, I played quite a bit of the Stick of Truth, but the sequel I've yet to try yet.
Oh, the sequel has some hilarious moments. I was like begging my friends to play it so they could, so I could talk about the funny moments in it. But they're both excellent games, both very similar, but both great. The funny thing on those newer ones, though, basically, I don't know how they got away with this, but like basically, the darker skin color your character is, the harder difficulty the game is.
Really?
And I don't know, that's a serious thing.
Dang.
I don't know how they got away with that, but
man, South Park is the farthest thing from politically correct, and somehow they're the only ones that can get away with it. I mean, I appreciate the social commentary they put in everything, but man, they are just raunchy and offensive, like to the max.
They definitely try to teach lessons and I guess like show how ridiculous our culture is at some points. But yeah, they are pretty raunchy while doing it. Moving on to my other game, and this is one it was also on Woot, and it was like $45, which for a Switch game is about as low as they go, especially first party. And it's one of my favorite games. It is the remake to Paper Mario: Thousand Years Door. And I think we had another podcast where I picked up the physical of Thousand Years Door, or at least the case, because I already had the disc. But yeah, I'm super excited. I've already got this one in my Switch. I'm definitely gonna play it here soon, because it's both Paper Mario 1 and then Thousand Years Door are two of my favorite games of all time. So and the way they've been doing remakes lately at Nintendo, especially with Super Mario RPG, which I finished just recently. Like I'm thrilled just to play this one.
Yeah, are you gonna pick up the Luigi's Mansion 2 remake? I think is what they just put out as well.
See, that one, I feel like it didn't need as much of a remake as it came out on 3DS, and I feel like it played really well on 3DS. So I might still, just because I do own, I think, every Luigi's Mansion on physical, so I might as well get that one. But yeah, that one doesn't have as much nostalgia as the first one for me, and the third one was really good, and I think I just played that pretty recently. So another one I'll wait for a price drop. I am excited though that Nintendo's bringing back the Mario and Luigi series, like the Mario and Luigi Superstar Saga, Mario and Luigi, like I think it's Bowser's Story or something like that. But the ones where it's like you play as both Mario and Luigi and you have to work together. It's not co-op, but you basically use both characters to get you around the map and everything. And those were super fun to play as a kid. Some really good ones on 3DS if you're ever looking to play something.
All right, I'll try those ones. Yeah, dude, Switch has just been going nuts with remakes. They've got that remake you just showed. They remade Star Wars Bounty Hunter. They've remade
Metroid Prime. I just had another one in my head.
I feel like there's some other ones that just came out.
Super
Beyond
Mario
Good
RPG.
and Evil. They just did a remake for it. They just did a remake of Doom 1 and Doom 2. It's like, it basically is a remake. Or re-release, I guess to say. But it was already re-released on Switch, too. And then they re-released it again. The newer version. A lot's been dropping lately.
Advance Wars, they did 1 and 2, the remakes of those on a little while ago. Yeah, they go crazy on them, but they do a really good job, and I don't know, it's a good way for people to jump in that they haven't. Like I never played Super Mario RPG, so I was like, okay, well this is the best way to do it, and sure enough, yeah, I mean they do a great job with remaking it, but still keeping the charm of the old games, at least from what I've
especially
seen
the ones that were actually
played.
remade by Nintendo.
Yeah, absolutely. Like the Metroid Prime one, like I need to go back and finish the remake of Metroid Prime. Like they did that just beautifully.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's all I got. As far as physical, a digital, Mike, you'll be happy. I was waiting for a sale on Xbox for this because I rather play on Xbox. I got Daymare 1998. Is that what it is? Yes,
yeah, nice.
That throwback or homage to the old Resident Evil, so I'm pretty excited for that. The funny thing that I think you'll get a kick out of was I was reading the reviews on Xbox just because I usually do before I buy anything, and people were like pissed off about people that didn't know what they were getting into. Like they're like, hey, do not review bomb this before you know what you're purchasing. Like this is homage to the old games. Like you cannot get mad at the clunky controls or something like that. It's like this, it was done on purpose. Like I think we've talked about that on the pod before with other games.
Yeah, there was that other game that's a remake of, or not a remake, excuse me, like a reimagining or a homage to old Resident Evil games that we covered a bunch of episodes back. I can't remember the name of it.
I have it on Steam.
Do you remember? It was just a demo. Like I don't think the game has come out yet.
Yeah, I don't think so, because you put a review on it though. We read you put. I remember you read your review that you put on there.
Yes, people were just bashing it so hard because it had tank controls, and then people were like, "Why does the controls suck so bad?" And it's like, dude, that was done on purpose because they're trying to really make it seem like a lost sequel to Resident Evil from back in like the PlayStation 1 era. And with Daymare 1998. That same situation. It's like a homage to these survival horror games, like warts and all. Clunky controls, bad voice acting. Like it's intentional. And for somebody brand new who's never played any of those old games, yeah, I could see them looking at this game and being like, man, this sucks. But for me, man, it's It's what I want. It's what I love from old survival horror games.
I'm looking at my Steam library right now to see if I can find which one it was. But while I'm doing that, the other one I
Was
picked
it?
up,
It was Echoes of the Living. I think that's what it was.
I don't know why I can't find it in my. I think you're right. It's not showing up in my library anymore.
Patiently waiting for them to finish that game. It's a very small. Yeah, it's Echoes of the Living. It's a very small dev team. I think it was just maybe 2 people. And yeah, it was good. Anyway,
before it passes off to you, there was one other digital that I got. I recently, just this weekend, saw Alien Romulus, the new Alien movie.
Oh, nice. Yeah, I really want to see that.
I really enjoyed it, and I noticed that for like $6, the Alien Isolation, I don't know if they remade it, but they brought it over to Xbox, like the modern day consoles, and they had it with like all its DLC cosmetics and whatnot. So I went and picked up Alien Isolation because I've actually never played that one, and I've heard like people enjoy it. Like it's a pretty good, horror game. I don't know if it's the best of the best, but it's a worthwhile experience, especially for $6.
Yeah, absolutely. Same with me. That's another one that I'm shocked I've not played through because it just seems like that's totally my type of game.
Yeah, I've been really rearing for some horror again. I haven't played a horror game in a while, so I'm like, all right, it's time. I got a couple options now, so yeah, that's probably what I dive into next.
Yeah, and I remember a lot of people bashed that Aliens Colonial Marines game that came out years ago, and like years after it was released, I was looking for a good co-op game to play with my buddy. Because, we're always playing like first-person shooter co-op games or third-person shooter co-op games. Stuff we can just knock out real quick without much thought. Yeah. And I actually enjoyed that game. Yeah, it was buggy as hell. But, I had a good time. So I don't know why it got review bombed as bad as it did when it first came out. I think people just maybe had their expectations like way too high. But that one's still worth a playthrough too as well.
I actually was gifted the most recent one that they came out with, which is like an XCOM style Aliens game. It's Aliens: The Dark Descent, I think it's what's called. I started that for a little while and it seems good. It really up my alley, but it's one of those I have it on PC, so I either need to get on my laptop or like sit down and play it. I'm always so bad. I'm like, oh, I have a bunch of stuff on my Xbox. I can boot something up on there, or my Switch or whatever. So another one I want to get to.
Yeah, I've devolved into a lazy gamer. It's so hard for me to just sit at my desktop PC for hours and play a game. Like, I'm laying down in bed and laying down on the couch with a controller. Like, I got so many of those games that are like way more of a thinking man's game that I have to be sitting up and like giving my full all to. And every time I think about playing those games, I'm just like, dude, I'm too exhausted for that. Like, give me something simple and mindless.
Exactly. All right, I'll kick it off to you, though. What do you got for pickups? I also don't know what you got, so I'm excited to see here.
All right, man. Well, first off, I'll go over the digital ones.
Okay.
I did finally pick up the DLC for both the Resident Evil 4 remake, which is the Separate Ways DLC. I'm playing through that right now.
I loved it.
And I did pick up the Resident Evil 8 Village DLC as well, the Winter's expansion.
Also loved
so I'm going to play through that too. That's what I'm going to play through next. And man, it's been a couple months since I finished the Resident Evil 4 remake. And man, that game just feels so good. Like, it's nice diving back in and having a little bit of extra content, even though it's largely just recycled stuff and kind of playing through the same levels through a different perspective as a different character. But man, those games just play so well. The graphics are amazing. And also, I played through Resident Evil 4 on PC with like max settings, 4K resolution. It was beautiful. But I'm playing through this Separate Ways DLC on just my base PlayStation 4.
Oh, wow.
And I gotta say, it still looks amazing. I know we talk about it time and time again, but that Resident Evil game engine, it's so scalable. Like, even lower hardware, it just runs fantastic on, looks fantastic on. And I think a lot of people counted out the PlayStation 4 version of the Resident Evil 4 remake. But dude, it's still just as amazing on that console. So like whichever way you play, That game looks amazing, runs amazing, and is a good time. So I got those 2 games for PlayStation 4. I went to my local GameStop not that long ago, and I was really shocked to see that they're back selling PlayStation 3 and Xbox 360 games. And I think they even have some Wii games too. It's just literally a small section, like dead in the middle of the Xbox Series X games. It's just like a line of Xbox 360 games. And then dead in the center of the PlayStation 5 games is just like a line of PlayStation 3 games. So I was kind of confused by that. But for, I think it was $6, I picked up the racing game Split Second for the Xbox 360. Now this is it's a pretty good game, man. There's not much left that I don't already have on Xbox 360 that I want, but I did not have this, and for $6 it was worth picking up. Basically, it's like a combat racing game where you can trigger crazy environmental events that will put like roadblocks or like obstacles in the way of the people behind you to just kind of help you get more and more of a lead. So it's got these huge bombastic like Fast and the Furious sets where there's like planes crashing and buildings crumbling all around you while you're racing. So that's pretty cool. Everything else I got was for PlayStation 4. Mitch, a long time ago, I gave you my copy of Spider-Man for PlayStation 4.
Oh yeah, I still have that.
And I freaking love that game. So I picked it up again. I think I paid about $15 for this. And this is the Game of the Year edition.
Okay.
And unfortunately, it's not all on disc. It's just like the base game plus a DLC voucher. And I bought this used, taking a gamble to see if the season pass code was still good. And it was.
Nice.
Hell yeah. So lucked out on that. I did end up getting the Game of the Year edition.
I still need to play the Miles Morales like part of that base game.
Yeah, have you played that?
I've only played the base. I've not done the Miles Morales yet, or 2 for that matter. That came out, but I still don't have a PS5.
They came out with a sequel?
Mm-hmm.
Man, I must have forgotten all about that. Plus, I don't have a PS5, so it's not like I can play it anyway.
Yeah, I know. I'm still bitter about a lot of that, but
all right, man. Next up, Sniper Elite 4 for PlayStation 4. I love all the Sniper Elite games, so I definitely wanted to get a physical copy of that. I think this one I paid $14 for. PS4 games are dropping in price, man, so now's the time to snatch them up. I got Horizon Forbidden West for $14. And this is a big game, man. It's like a double disc case. Again, bought it used. DLC voucher worked. I don't know why people just buy games and like don't even use the DLC codes or anything. I mean, this one's just like an outfit, so I guess kind of like whatever.
Yeah, okay, it's not that crazy, but I always try to get into that one, the first one, and I can't get myself to finish it. I don't know why.
I was the same, man. The first one, it did not hook me, so I'm hoping the second one does. All right, next up, Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2 for PlayStation 4, the cross-gen edition with the PS5 upgrade. Again, I bought this used, and the PS5 upgrade voucher does work. So
nice.
Someday when I have a PS5, I will already have Modern Warfare 2 ready to play. I always loved Call of Duty games, man.
Yeah, and those Modern Warfare campaigns are good. Yeah, I enjoyed those.
So next is Sniper Ghost Warrior 3 Season Pass Edition. Unfortunately, this voucher did not work. Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2, I paid $12 for. This one, dude, $4. It was like 99 cents plus shipping.
Nice.
So, and then finally, I just been waiting for this game to drop in price, but it's pretty much been stuck around the $30 mark. So when I saw a listing for $26, I snatched up God of War Ragnarok.
I've been waiting for it too. I haven't gotten it yet.
Another double disc one.
Oh man.
So I do appreciate that these games are actually on the disc, and so you'll be able to play them forever. Next, man, another game I got for like $5 or $6, and that is Air Conflicts Pacific Carriers, which is a flight combat arcade game. And I don't know, man. Every once in a while I like to jump into these flight combat games, but they're alright. And I think this one's very interesting because it has PlayStation camera head tracking feature. Like, not VR support, but just PlayStation camera head tracking. So apparently if you move your head, it'll kind of move your screen a little bit in your cockpit. That sounds really annoying, and I probably will never play like that, but I appreciate them coding that gimmick in there.
Mm-hmm.
And then Air Conflicts Vietnam. This is just the sequel to that. These are actually older games that were on the PlayStation 3 and Xbox 360 era, and they were just re-released on PS4. Okay. Anyway, last but not least, you know I'm always out for the PlayStation 4 VR games, so I picked up Hitman 3, which has a PlayStation VR mode, and this one actually, from what I read, it has a VR mode. If you pick this game up, it also includes Hitman 1 and 2, all three with VR support, is what I've been told. So you get the whole trilogy and VR support with this edition. Don't know how true that is. Got to jump in and confirm that. And this one I paid maybe $25 for, and then Air Conflicts Vietnam I think was another like $7 or $8 game. So got some cheapos except for Hitman and God of War Ragnarok, but all good stuff, man. It's crazy how cheap PlayStation 4 games are. And last but not least, right before the Xbox Marketplace closed down, I went through everything on there to see if there's anything I wanted to snatch before the Marketplace gets shut down forever and I lose my chance. And I did pick up 3 games. Everybody seemed to be ranting and raving about Wipeout. Oh, which one was it?
Like the show?
Wipeout. Is that it? No, not like the show. Maybe it's not Wipeout. It's the one with the boats. Xbox 360.
The boats.
Boat race. Hydro Thunder. Excuse me. Not
Wipeout.
Okay.
Yeah.
Hydro Thunder Hurricane was a Xbox Live Arcade exclusive. Allegedly, it also released on PC. But other than a few articles mentioning it, I can find no trace of that version actually existing. So if somebody in the comments actually played that on PC or can confirm that actually existed, I would like to know. But yeah, Hydro Thunder Hurricane, I grabbed that. The other thing I grabbed was Azura's Wrath. Because, did you ever play Azura's Wrath?
Mm-mm.
So, basically the game's like a whole quick time event. Like, that's basically the whole gameplay. But it's just like an action movie you're kind of like passively playing. And they did release a physical copy, but the physical copy is incomplete. There was like some final chapters that were only released as DLC. So I snagged up the game and all the DLC for that. Since that's another one that, aside from Xbox 360, aside from finding the physical copy or maybe playing the PlayStation 3 version if one exists, you'll never be able to play that again. And then last but not least, I picked up Quake for the Xbox 360.
Like OG Quake? Or I guess it would be
Quake.
Whatever they released on 360.
It was another Xbox Live game. I think it was Quake Team Arena. Xbox 360. Oh, Quake 3 Arena Arcade on the Xbox 360, which actually is a pretty decent port of Quake Arena, which I never knew existed. I probably would have played that a lot had I knew it existed when it first came out and people were still on Xbox Live actually playing it. Anyway, everything else, I know a lot of stuff has already been delisted even prior to the marketplace closing down, but that was the stuff that was up my alley, so grabbed those, downloaded those. And
I'll have to check my 360 if I have that Hydro Thunder game, because man, I probably would have scooped that up if I...
What'd you say?
I'll have to check if I bought that Hydro Thunder game back in the day and I still have it on my 360.
Does it ring a bell? Like, do you recall playing it?
Yeah, I feel like I recall playing it, so...
I wonder if the Xbox Live still works on it.
That'd be pretty cool. I don't think it's backwards compatible, so I think it's just 360. They didn't bring it over to the newer consoles.
Oh, dang.
So you have, so that's one that you got, like, if it lives and dies on the 360 because there's no physical copy.
And going through this stuff, there was a lot of really good games that were arcade exclusives. There's also a lot of not good games. I was looking at a lot of that stuff. I was like, what even is this?
Yeah, they were putting anything and everything on there at one point.
Yeah, but man, it was definitely a trip down memory lane to just check out everything they had before they shut down. And speaking of shutting down, Mitch, I think you're the one that broke this news to me.
Yes. Basically, after 33 years, Game Informer is shutting down, and that's a bittersweet thing. While I don't really read magazines anymore for my gaming news, it's definitely Game Informer always gave me fond memories as a kid growing up, especially like in the heyday of GameStop, where like if you got their whatever pro membership, you for free could get these magazines delivered to your door, and I was always excited to get those delivered to my door as a kid, because really, like, I didn't own, like, I didn't have a smartphone, I didn't have a laptop, like, the websites weren't like usually like the best way to like go and look up stuff that was coming out that was new. Like, the magazine was like prime content for everything that I was like looking and getting excited for like for coming up for Christmas time or whatnot. So yeah, after 33 years, Game Informer is shutting down, and they did release a heartfelt statement at the end here, and it just says, "From the early days of pixelated adventures to today's immersive virtual realms, we've been honored to share this incredible journey with you, our loyal readers. While our presses may stop, the passion we have for gaming that we've cultivated together will continue to live on. Thank you for being part of our epic quest, and may your own gaming adventures never end." That's a pretty nice goodbye for them. Yeah, just a sad thing for basically the employees as well. I know there was some tweets about employees that were pretty bummed about it. I mean, they all got laid off, and hopefully they bounce back and get jobs, either at other publications or somewhere or whatnot. Yeah, hopefully they land on their feet. But yeah, just a sad day. I'm assuming, Mike, you probably also got some magazines delivered to your door at some point.
Yeah, man, I had a Game Informer subscription off and on for years. I actually remember, I think it was when I was a teenager, going to my dad's house and finding a stack of old Game Informers from like the PlayStation 1, Nintendo 64 era. And even as a teenager, I grabbed that whole stack and I read through all of them. And it was just so interesting at the time because it was like that first taste of like old video game nostalgia, and I was only a teenager. Like damn, man, like remembering these games from when I was 6, 7, 8 as a 14, 15-year-old, and it was just so cool to go back and look through these old magazines. 'Cause they're definitely time capsules. And as a teenager, I had a subscription for a few years, and then as an adult in my early 20s, I had a subscription. And I fondly remember the first apartment I had by myself having a Game Informer subscription. Mind you, this isn't that long ago. I mean, the internet at that point was widespread. You could get all your gaming news from the internet. But Game Informer, for a time, like you said, the magazines, they were able to get the inside scoop before the internet. And then the internet would just repeat what was breaking news in these magazines. But even when that was no longer the case, I still enjoyed having a physical magazine. And it wasn't just, it was previews, reviews, but it was also like opinion pieces and readers being able to write in stuff. And sometimes they'd cover just different topics or interview game creators. And man, I mean, yeah, read through a lot of Game Informers on the toilet, and it was great toilet reading, I'll tell you that much. But
They were great for.
Go ahead, what were you gonna say?
I'll say they were great for me too in like high school or even middle school when you had to have like designated like reading time, and I feel like I would just whip out a Game Informer and then pretend it was like an actual like a book that I'm I'm reading. But yeah, I did really like the stuff when viewers could like write in or like show off sometimes like their collections that they had of like certain games, and there's just a lot of good content in those, and it got me through high school a lot.
Yeah, and Game Informer always had beautiful, beautiful covers. And from what I remember, they had in-house artists that would create these custom covers, and they were always so striking. And it would just be a big cover of whatever the hottest game was that they were talking about in that issue at the time. And on the screen, I'm looking through this slideshow of old Game Informer covers, and one that stands out to me is Fight Night and Def Jam. Bam, big letters right on the cover. And man, each one of these reminds me like just these golden times in video games. Like, yes, games are constantly coming out now more than ever, but every once in a while there was just that super prime moment. In Fight Night, man, I love those games. Def Jam, I love those games. Even though I'm sure this cover is talking about Def Jam Icon, which ended up being not that great of a game. But coming off of the second game, I would have been so hyped for both of those games.
Yeah, the prime time for brawlers too, or fighters in general. I mean, those are a couple really good ones. I remember playing some of the early Fight Night games because they're really easy achievements you can get on the 360. So I was trying to get all the achievements while I rented the game at Second Cinema Video for like the weekend. So I had to hurry up and get all the achievements and return it.
And another thing I think is interesting is that they went, from what I recall, they went all digital at one point.
They did.
And then they brought back the physically printed magazines due to popular demand.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember when they said they were going all digital, man, I was devastated. Because at that point, it's just like, man, I can get my game news anywhere. I was already looking at GameSpy at the time, or IGN, or whatever it was.
GameSpy.
And to me, the print magazine was the only thing setting them apart from all these other game news outlets. But go ahead.
It speaks to just like, you and I, we like holding like our physical games. It's something about holding a physical magazine and actually like, reading through it. And some people even collected a bunch of those magazines, and I mean that with the beautiful covers that they have, I mean it's a cool collection to have.
Yeah, I mean I love going back and looking at old video game magazines. It's just sometimes the humor today isn't the same. Not to say one's better or worse, but there's definitely writing style and humor and just different journalism as time goes on, and sometimes just great stuff to read.
Couple cool nuggets from this IGN article. Game Informer, when it was first purchased from FuncoLand in 2000, it had become the longest running video game magazine in the world. And then in 2011, Game Informer was actually the third largest magazine in the US with over 8 million copies in the wild. So that's pretty impressive.
That was the craziest thing to me. Yeah, I read that too when I was looking at these articles about it shutting down. It's just how popular it was. And yeah, and that to me that was the selling point, like on why you would get a, what is it, GameStop Pro membership or whatever. It's like that was the icing
That was
on the cake. Like it's like really, really the subscription to Game Informer was what I wanted the most, and then all the other perks GameStop offered were just kind of like icing on the cake. But now that they don't have that, it's just kind of like, ugh, GameStop Pro.
Yeah. I've kind of ditched GameStop lately. They slowly, I think we've talked about it, that they used to have actually some pretty good deals online that you could work off of, but now it's and then now they're taking out Game Informer, so it's they're going down as a company as a whole.
Whether that partnership was to Game Informer's detriment or not, I mean, who knows? But it's also like the fact that they held on as long as they did as a magazine in this day and age where everything's just digital is hats off to them, man. Rest in peace, Game Informer. All right, so next up, you and I. Speaking of nostalgia for old games, after seeing the trailer for Gears of War Emergence Day or E-Day, the new game that's in the works, we're like, man, we were itching to play some Gears of War. So sometimes it's just nice to just hop back in the old games. I always revisit all the Halo campaigns every so many years, and it was time, to maybe run through all the Gears games again. So you and I obviously started with Gears of War 1, but we did not play the original release of Gears of War 1. We decided to check out the nice remake, remaster, whatever you want to call it, Gears of War Ultimate Edition. And it was released on Xbox One, but we played it on PC because we found out the hard way it does not have cross-platform play, because I think this game was released just at the cusp of when that was really starting to take off and be integrated into every Microsoft game or pretty much every modern game. So one thing I want to point out before we dive into the game itself is that even recently, this game has been getting some flack for not necessarily running that well. Even to this day, even with like better graphics cards. And this game came out in what, like 2014 or something? Basically, here we are 10 years later, and supposedly it doesn't run that great even on newer hardware, but I don't know. It ran fine for me, and I was playing it on a laptop. Granted, I was only playing in 1080p, but as far as I could tell, I had everything maxed. It was running smooth as butter for me. We had a few network bugs, but that might have just been my bad internet connection. The game looks gorgeous. It ran fine to me. Mind you, the original Gears of War was 30 frames per second on a good day at 720p-ish, and that game was still a blast to play through. So am I really going to complain at an even better looking game at 1080p, like 60, maybe a little below 60 frames per second? Nah, man. The first game was amazing. This game is just, everything you could want in a remaster. It's just that plus more. So sorry, world, that this game does not run at 1,000 frames per second at 8K on your beefy machine, but it's far from unplayable. I just want to say that much. But anyway, Mitch, what was it like for you jumping back in to Gears of War? And when was the last time you played it before we replayed it?
I played, actually, some of my old buddies and I, who we actually kind of met through Halo 2, but we kind of grew up together gaming online. I'm actually in their fantasy football league now. We're friends. It's fun. But we played a lot of Gears of War growing up, so I actually linked up with them kind of recently before we jumped into the campaign ourselves. We played some of the multiplayer on there just to check it out, because there was an influx because of the hype around E-Day. There's an influx of people coming into the Ultimate Edition to just get that nostalgia back again and play some of that old Gears of War. We had no trouble getting in lobbies or playing against people, so it was cool to get a little throwback and and play some of that multiplayer. So I did do that, probably just a little bit before we started the campaign. I think it just speaks to, I guess, how good that campaign is, to how quick we burnt through it. I feel like, what did we do it in? I mean, like
Three sittings, man. Three sittings.
Yeah, and I feel like we probably could have even done it in two if we,
Yeah.
you know, if we really wanted to. But sometimes we started kind of late. But yeah, like honestly, just a fantastic time. It's something about, I've talked about it before, but just like the linear co-op campaign experiences, like you really can't beat it, because I mean, it's nice. Like it's, I mean, it's not a lot. We played it on a fairly high difficulty, but it wasn't overly difficult by any means.
Yeah, it was. I can't believe we put it on hard, and the whole time we're questioning, like, is this hard? Because we are cranking through this.
Yeah, we definitely cranked through, but it was just nice to kind of sit back, you know, just Mike and I chatting about just random stuff going on in life, but then we're also locked into this campaign, and just, you know, the bullet hell shooting that Gears of War can be. So yeah, not overly difficult, but like honestly, I just like that it was just a nice linear campaign that we could burn through, and we sure did. We burnt through that really quick, and you know, now we're talking about, let's just go in line. Let's go play Gears of War 2 now. Yeah, just honestly, fantastic experience. I mean, I would be a fan if they were to like want to remake some of those, you know, 2 or 3 again. Do the Ultimate Edition treatment to some of those other ones. Not that it's necessary; they hold up pretty well, but still would be pretty cool.
Yeah, because the Ultimate Edition, again, I cannot emphasize enough how beautiful this game looked. In addition to just upping the graphics, so there actually was already a PC version of Gears of War 1 that came out a few years after the Xbox 360 version, and it added a whole new like chapter pretty much to the campaign. And I had played through that just a few years ago with one of my buddies, and again, it's the same as the 360. That one is the same as the 360 version. I mean, other than you can play it at a higher resolution or higher frame rate. But that game still looked incredible. It was still a ton of fun. And this Ultimate Edition includes those bonus levels to the campaign that were introduced in that original PC release. So it is nice that it makes the game a little longer. The boss fights, they're all clever. The blind enemy that hunts with sound, to the ones that you have to kill with the Hammer of Dawn. And the game just it's got a creepy atmosphere to it that I think they kind of shied away from in later games. But that
we were
bonus
talking about
level,
that while we were playing.
What did you say?
So we were talking about that while we were playing. I meant to bring that up, the creepy atmosphere of the first game, and you know, the campaign of that, and then they did get away from that, so that was nice to come back to for sure.
Yeah, and those bonus levels, you could fight a Brumac, which I always wanted to do when the first Gears of War came out, and they were showing it in the trailers and showing it in the cutscenes, but you never actually got to battle one. And so in this one, you got to battle one. And I mean, at the end of the day, it's unique in its art style, but it does follow a lot of shooter tropes. Like there's like a minecart level, which how many video games has had a minecart level? And it felt so out of place, and it's just like, this is such a video gamey level to throw in here. And then of course there's a level on a train. Like every shooting game has a level on a train. But they had some unique ideas, like the monsters, the bats that come out at night, and you have to keep the lights on or have fires burning because they're sensitive to light. And if you step out into the shadows, they literally shred you. And I thought that was a cool enemy idea. There's so many things that just made it creepy and just added tension. And like that example, I don't think that was ever in any of the sequels after that. I think that was abandoned, and just, you can definitely tell 2 and 3 are arguably better games, but at the same time, as they moved a little more mainstream, they kind of lost a little bit of the Gears 1 edge that I loved from the original game.
Yeah, definitely got brighter.
Yeah, brighter, more colorful graphics.
Yeah.
And I definitely still have this game installed because I want to play the multiplayer before I uninstall it.
Yeah, it was fun. It was nostalgic. I mean, the one thing I can say, the multiplayer has gotten a lot better over the years. Like Gears 5's
Oh, yeah.
multiplayer is like really, really, really good. So I mean, they definitely have done really good things with the Gears franchise as far as multiplayer is concerned. But I'm excited that they're going back campaign wise to their roots and to the creepiness of the early days of that franchise.
Yeah, I'm hyped, man. And if you and I play through Gears of War 2, Gears of War 3, and Gears of War Judgment, and Gears of War 4, and Gears of War 5 again, I think by the time we're done, E-Day will be out.
Yep, I think so.
All right, man. That's everything I had to talk about on Gears. Did you have anything else you wanted to add?
No, great game. I'm excited to play more of them. And yeah, that's it.
All right, we can wrap it up there. Thank you, everybody, for joining us. You can find all our episodes on Spotify and Apple Podcasts and YouTube. Where else can we be found, Mitch?
Yeah, our Twitter is at Hills Are Silent. Our Instagram is Instagram/Hills Are Silent. Our TikTok is at the Hills Are Silent Podcast. And our YouTube, again, is at the Hills Are Silent. If you have any questions or comments, hit us up on our Spotify comments, our YouTube comments, our Apple comments. We'll find them some way or another, or hit us up in our email inbox at hillsaresilent@gmail.com. And as always, we'll catch you on the next episode.